All right.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. This is our first evening podcast. Yeah, we didn't take a break or anything. Like you've been experiencing constant streams of content throughout all of December and the beginning of January. So
you might say constant streams of despair as well.
Yeah. The content is giving you despair. So hopefully this is a reprieve from despair as you listen to Two Idiots Talk to Idiots. Because that is the name of our show. But anyway, it's night outside. We've never done a post-dinner podcast before. Usually we're a post-lunch podcast.
Post-dinner. Normally it's post-lunch.
Yeah.
And it's also the first episode of 2021. The day after the siege.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to not talk about in this episode, I think. Regardless of our topic.
Yeah.
That's on everyone's minds. Anyway, what are we talking about, though? We got a slightly intriguing topic. I feel like most people who are into like fringe stuff are also into learning about kind of like secret societies.
Yeah, this probably goes into secret society stuff. They're pretty secretive. We are learning about the Templars, or rather the Poor Knights of Christ and the Temple of Solomon.
Is that their full name? I wanted to say that too.
Yeah.
That's
the full official name.
The Poor Knights of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. Is that right?
That is right. And you'd think that's hypocritical and is funny to hear, but it's according to their history, it makes sense. Alrighty. Well, we're not just talking about Templars. We're also talking about them possibly worshipping the devil and Baphomet. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's see if that's true or
not.
The
original witch hunts.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, were there witch hunts before
I'm
this?
sure.
Anyway, we'll get into
that. Yeah, I'm sure they fucking murked each other. Oh, yeah. Alrighty.
So what are the general feelings about Templars in like society, modern society, I guess?
In modern society?
Like people know that they were parts of the Crusades, like they went to fight
you would hope.
in the Holy Land for the Pope.
But I don't trust Americans to know that.
Really?
No, Americans are fucking stupid. We're all stupid as fuck.
I learned about that in like high school, like about the Templar.
Who pays attention in high school?
For some reason, my history teachers were adamantly against Templars.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it was weird.
I'm
like I got a skewing
Templars.
of. They kind of suck.
They kind of suck. Just like a lot of the people we talk about on this show.
But yeah, my original knowledge of the Templars was like rooted in how they sucked and killed and like pillaged and looted and raped villages on their way to kill people in the Holy Land to take it back for Christianity.
You might say
that
they laid the foundations for what we're doing now with America in the Middle East. Ooh.
Yeah. But some other things that I like originally knew about the Templars from like pop fiction or whatever. I watched the Da Vinci Code to prepare for this episode.
Didn't you watch the Da Vinci Code for something else?
Time.
Like for another episode?
No, I just watched the Da Vinci Code because I wanted to.
Wow, okay.
I didn't know it was going to have to do with the Holy Grail and the Templars. But yeah, if you've seen the Da Vinci Code, then you know that the Templars were supposedly the protectors of the Holy Grail and other like artifacts of Christianity.
Which is funny because
like the Shroud of Turin and the Ark of the Covenant and stuff.
You have a lot of this like romanticization? Is that how you say that? The romanticization of the Templars with like Christianity and like holiness and whatnot. And then you also have people who think they worshipped the devils and think that they were evil and think that they were a threat to Christianity, you might say. So it's weird to like think back on that and how nobody really like has in pop culture, nobody really has like one set feeling on them. Everybody's just kind of like, oh yeah, they're there. They kind of exist.
Yeah.
Even though they're really popular.
True because like
in pop culture, even though I just said nobody probably knows who they are, but yeah.
I bet if you asked like 100 Christians their views on the Templars, you'd probably get like 50-50 negative positive.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. That's a statistic out.
I wonder if there's
more likely it's like 80%. Who the fuck?
I wonder if there'd be like a line, like if you were to poll Christians on Templars. I wonder if there'd be like a line down like denominations, like Catholics love them and Protestants don't, or something.
Yeah. Well, Protestants hate Catholics anyway, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And the Catholics rule like Catholics were in charge of the Templars. So I mean, I wonder if that has any effect on modern perception of them. But I guess we can use that as a segue into general history if you'd like.
Sure.
So, as you know, Nathaniel,
what?
The Pope was in charge of the Templars because they were a religious institution founded in Jerusalem.
He's the one that nominated the Pilgrim Protectors.
Right. So it was originally created, the Templars were originally created only by a couple knights over in Jerusalem because they noticed that religious pilgrims to the Holy Land were getting fucking mugged. People were just yoinking their shit. And they were like, oh, hell no. We got to protect our boys.
They were asking for it.
Yeah.
Fully victim.
They were just walking around with all their valuables out in the open. Like, what do you expect to happen?
They were taking all these religious artifacts to their Mecca. Come on.
We can't blame the people who robbed them. But, so of course, the religious knights in Jerusalem wanted to protect the religious pilgrims, so they were allowed to form a monastic order on the Temple Mount, which is a very important place in Jerusalem, thought to be the Temple of Solomon. And that is hence why they are called the Poor Knights of Christ and the Temple of Solomon, is because it was only a few knights. They didn't get any fucking money. And they literally had to share horses, apparently. And their flag was 2 knights on one horse to emphasize their poverty. So
or did they? I heard
they? Yeah.
That's what they wanted their public perception to be. They wanted to be perceived.
You might say they were playing 4D chess.
Honestly, honestly, in the times of feudalism, if you were a knight to start off with, it already meant you were most likely a landowner. And like there were a lot of weird loopholes that the Pope.
True, but they were in the Holy Land.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. What was it like? They were allowed to use serfs and use land, but they weren't allowed to own it. Like they had to own it as a collective or something.
Right. So what I read, and granted, I did some big 5-headed research on Wikipedia, is that so they were founded in 1119. They weren't given any money or land, and then in 1129, the church went, "Hey, people of the church, give money to the Templars." So they became a favored charity. Yes. So they started just raking in money from donations and whatnot. And then they were also granted land and businesses, and noblemen were encouraged to join them. And then in in 1129, if I didn't say. And then 1139, Pope Innocent II exempted them from all local laws wherever they were. They were just exempt from local laws, border controls, and local taxes. They were only beholden to the Pope, the church. So you might say that they were one of the first like extra legal like CIAs of the.
You said it before me. You said it before me. I thought I was gonna say it first. Holy shit! Oh my god. I was like, I'm for sure gonna call the Templars the CIA, the original CIA before Will. You proved me wrong.
Yeah, right. You're infecting me.
Yeah, it's so crazy to like read and hear all that stuff and be like, oh my god, the Pope had so much fucking power.
So much power, dude. Like for
it's insane.
like 1,000 fucking years. Like just like the unquestioned pretty much ruler of the fucking world.
Yeah.
Like from the Holy Roman Empire to the Byzantines, just unprecedented power. Like, it's insane.
Crazy. What were the Templars like main goals after becoming like more established though? Because like wasn't it to take back the Holy Land?
Right. So their mission statement, you might say, was to protect religious pilgrims, and it kind of morphed into just protecting Christianity in general. Obviously, you know how Christians do. But ancient Christians. Sorry, Christians. But with my atheist ass. But so it went from protecting pilgrims to protecting Christianity, kind of, and as they became more powerful, they had more, military ability. They had more horses, weapons. They had more money. They kind of morphed into like shock troops they did their pilgrim protection, but they morphed into shock troops for the Crusades. So the Crusades weren't just Templars. I was ignorant, a couple years ago. I would always think of the Templars were like the Crusade people. They were like, the Crusades were just Templars.
Oh, yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah, me too.
It's normal knights and armies, and the Templars were like heavy cavalry that would come in and like break lines as the armies came in behind. That's my current understanding. But most of them weren't fighters. Most of them
were bankers. Most of them were protectors of money and land.
Money, you might say. So what happened was this kind of protection of pilgrims, of one other facet of that turned into protecting their valuables, because, they didn't want to just go and fight off every bandit on the road. So what they did was they established proto-banks, pretty much, that would accept the valuables from a pilgrim before the pilgrimage started, give them a little certificate of credit that they would then cash out with a little ticket.
Don't lose this.
Yeah, honestly, seriously. And then they would cash that certificate out in the Holy Land to get however much their valuables were worth originally, to have the money in the...
So I heard about that, and sorry, this is kind of tangent related, but like, would that work for like perishable goods or like animals that are gonna die?
I doubt it. Eaten? I mean, that's probably something you leave your family, So it's like pilgrims.
Could you give them like a bunch of tomatoes and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna come pick up. You better grow me some more tomatoes."
You better redeem my tomatoes.
Like that was just a thought I had.
Just like,
so it was probably just like physical
cow.
Goods that are not perishable.
Yeah, I would imagine, because in my mind, I read it as pilgrims were individuals. So it'd be like a pilgrim with some amount of money. Their family owns a farm or whatever, but the pilgrim's like, I got something of my own. Gonna give it to the Templar Bank to redeem when I get to the Holy Land. And I also heard when they were apparently for Christianity and Catholicism, it's a sin to collect taxes. Right.
But that's like something that they did. They like collected tithes for the church. But for some reason, they were able to get like a blessing from the Pope, which is like all of the passes for their misdoings.
Right.
I don't know who the fuck who was it? Pope Innocent?
Yeah.
Not very fucking innocent.
Yeah. Where's the separation of church and state?
But they would make whoever they were like collecting taxes from or goods from, give them like what's it called, a transaction fee.
They would hide,
So they would still get more money from that.
Yeah, and that's how they make money, just like banks today. Transaction fees. So this banking, this like proto banking that some people call the first multinational corporation, which is kind of accurate.
Fuck corporations.
Made them abhorrently wealthy, like disgustingly wealthy, to the point where they owned
more rich than the king.
Yeah, literally, to the point where they owned the entire island of Cyprus.
Yeah, I saw
the entire fucking.
I was like, wait a minute,
island, and so this quickly this, along with their extra legal powers, quickly led to people mistrusting them and quickly led to monarchs distrusting them. So King Philip IV, who is the reason that they are no longer with us, owed them a disgusting amount of money and did not trust them, thought they were, as I said earlier, a form of a deep state. I mean, also, this motherfucker also owed money to Jewish people, apparently, and just also thought all Jews were a part of a deep state. So, hey, anti-Semitism goes way back.
And the Templars were very anti-Muslim as well.
God, yeah.
I remember reading that, like, basically the sole group of people that they attacked or protected pilgrims from were Muslims.
Yes, yeah. And they were probably, just like we do today, they were probably blaming all of Islam for these little attacks on their pilgrims too. So, hey, you know.
Oh, did we say that King Louis IX was the King of France?
What?
Or no?
It was King Philip IV.
Wait. Oh, he was still the King of France. Oops. Wait, what did King Louis do?
Where's Louis? I don't know.
Okay, wait. Can I add another tangent before?
Yes.
Because you were talking about them getting absurdly wealthy.
Yes.
So I watched a video, I think yesterday, not related to like studying for this, doing this podcast at all, but it was about like monks in the Middle Ages and like how gluttonous and like wealthy they were.
Gluttonous and wealthy monks?
Yeah. So basically what happened in the like medieval period was that monks basically became like a second royalty because like nobility that had more than one heir, it was like a weird custom at the time to only give your firstborn like all of your inheritance. But if they had a second son, they were like shit out of luck. So the second son would have to like go become a monk, and then the monks were like, "Hey,
right,
I don't want to take care of your son for free. You know, you gotta give us a little something to make it all worthwhile for us." So then these nobility would be like, "Fine, take some land and like some money maybe, and some serfs, and." That's how the monks got so fucking rich, because after a while, so much nobility just kept doing this and giving them land and serfs and shit.
Yeah.
And they just racked up all this dough. And I'm assuming a similar thing happened with the Templars.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we can go into their initiation rituals later, because that's some fuck shit in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's getting into more devil worshipping stuff.
As far as their agglomeration of wealth, that could be one way they did it.
Yeah, that's the main theory of why they were disbanded is not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but that they weren't actually worshiping the devil, but that they were so fucking powerful, and King Philip was in debt to them. He capitalized on a situation where they were discussing a couple Templars committing acts of occultism. And he went, oh, fuck. And he snatched up a bunch of Templars and sent them to prison. Because I think there was... Hold on, let me try to see if there was a point that I missed that I wanted to talk about. Oh, just with them being very...
He fell victim to the rumor mill.
Oh, yeah. They were incredibly wealthy, incredibly powerful. They didn't have to listen to laws. And the Teutonic Knights in Prussia already created their own state. And the Knights Hospitaller were trying to do it in Rhodes.
Yeah.
So the Templars wanted to create their own state, and King Philip IV was like, fuck that shit. And
he wanted to combine them, right?
No,
them with the
Pope Clement V wanted to combine the Templars and the Hospitallers.
Oh, yeah.
Which when they went to go talk to him is the moment that Philip IV capitalized on when they were talking about occultism with a couple Templars. Okay. And then on Friday the 13th, which is sometimes thought to be the origin of the Friday the 13th superstition, he ordered the arrest of the Grand Master of the Templars and a bunch of other ones. And then we get into the accusations and initiation rituals and whatnot.
The witch hunt.
The witch hunt! So if you'd like to kick that off,
And the tortures.
The big old tortures.
And the whatnot. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. So Jacques de Molay was the Grand Master. And a lot of the accusations were that they were gay.
Or
that they were worshiping the devil. Or they were like... they were worshiping... what was it? False gods.
Yes.
And committing acts of heresy.
They always got to throw in the gay, though. Oh, you slept with one of your brothers? Oh, that's fucking sick, dude. Not in the good way. Fuck.
Yeah. So, honestly, it's weird because when I was researching this, some of their ceremonies like weren't kept very secretive.
Right.
But their meetings were.
Right.
So all their ceremonies and stuff were like out in the open. You could learn about them.
Yeah.
And like what they did. And their initiation ceremony was weird because they would like have to recite this reading and have a chaplain of the Templars be like, so you know you're gonna be like pouring shit now, right? And like obviously they knew that was a fucking lie. They were like, yeah, whatever. And then they would kiss each other on the mouth, and then like on the neck, and then on the back, and that was like part of the ritual.
Yeah.
But like, I guess it wasn't weird back then.
All right, in my head, what I imagine,
that might have been how the rumor started.
Yeah, in my head, what I imagine is by like the kisses are probably like the literal lightest of pecks. Like you'll see in like initiation rituals like nowadays for things, for like clubs and shit. Like they'll have like you'll just peck on the cheeks or like and whatnot. So I can imagine that all it was like little pecks here and there, and somebody was watching just like oh dude, fucking gross. Oh.
I guess we know like the origins of homophobia were around this time then, because I don't think it was that much of an issue before.
I think homophobia goes back a long fucking time.
Really?
Yes.
Maybe we can get into that in another episode.
Hey, yeah.
But anyway, I know you weren't in a fraternity in college, but I was. And like listening to a lot of this ritual stuff, I was like, oh fuck. I went through a lot of like similar shit when I was joining my fraternity. Why
really
is this
weird
still
stuff?
part of like the cultural zeitgeist? Yeah. Like why did this continue? And
like don't some frats like fucking like spank their new fucking like recruit like initiates like naked? Like
like that didn't happen to me, but I've heard stories.
Right. Like that's probably like what happened, because when you have a fucking fraternal order of like dudes who like are just always around each other.
It's crazy.
Like I'm sure they were fucking. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure they were fucking, because they're like, I mean, it's just like the fucking Spartans. There's like the theory that Spartans. This is a weird tangent, but there's a theory that the Spartans, when they would go off to war, they were only around each other, and there weren't as many like, you know, they didn't view gay sex in the same way that more modern
there wasn't a stigma.
Prudes do. There wasn't as much stigma. So they would fuck each other and come and get so used to it that they would come home and make their wives shave their heads so that it would feel like they were fucking their fellow soldiers again. I heard this. I genuinely have no idea if there's any backing to this. I just remember reading it somewhere. But there is science. There is science to in nature. Like they have evidence of and recordings of like animals like goats. When you keep them only around other males around other males, eventually their horniness gets the better of them and they fuck each other. And after a while of doing that, if you put them back with like female goats, they refuse to fuck the female goats.
That's awesome.
Which, I mean, hey.
Conversion therapy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hey, we're fucking animals, so I don't see why that doesn't apply to us either. Yeah, fucking Spartans were beyond our times. Love it.
Yeah, I know there are reports of like similar things happening to like pirates and people who were on the high seas for a long time in this time period. But yeah, all of this started happening in like early 1300s, like 1306, 1307.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of them were tortured and put on trials and basically like forced to lie or tell the truth. So like we don't really know.
And most of them recanted their confessions afterwards too, like actually recanted.
We don't really know, like, even though a lot of their stories, confessions converged and were similar about like worshiping Baphomet and being gay and shit. Like we don't know if they were all forced by the same people to just say that under duress, you know?
Because even Pope Clement V he specifically asked Philip to make the trials more fair because, let me get up. So it's like, so what happened was there was a perfect confluent, like there was a perfect like storm that happened. These trials happened in like 1307 and 1308, and in 1230 there was a new system in the court system that happened where false accusations were no longer punished. So if you gave a false accusation, you were no longer, punished for that. And then a year before that, Philip's grandfather made it the king's duty officially to eliminate heresy in particular. And then Pope Honorius the third in 1230, the same year as this pretty much the same exact time, gave the inquisitors in northern Italy special powers to examine even the exempted and protected orders of the Hospitallers, Cistercians, and Templars if heresy is suspected. So similar to how terrorism is treated in America now, where you can get away with anything if you just accuse somebody of terrorism. But,
yikes.
So it was like that is part of the reason why Philip, we believe, jumped on those accusations of heresy and spitting on the cross and worshiping an idol, a three-headed idol, and shit like that. He probably
with a long beard.
Yeah, and he was jumping on the mistrust the general public had of the Templars too because they were so powerful. But yeah.
The general public, their opinion of the Templars like declined drastically over time, from the onset, and then after they got a bunch of money, they were like, "Wait a minute, whoa!
Now, hey, hold on there, Buster."
Because banks kind of suck, and like hidden fees and shit. Bad news.
They sucked back then too. Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about Jacques de Molay's last words?
Oh yeah, I did write this down. Yeah, I was like, this is fucking metal.
Jacques de Molay was the Grand Master.
Yes, he was the Grand Master of the Templars, and he
was like, no, I don't want to. He tried to get ahead of the cart. Is that right?
I know. Cart? Yeah. That's a phrase. Yeah.
Because he was like, he knew why he was being called to meet with the French king Philip. And Clement. He was like, oh no, I don't want to fucking combine with the Hospitallers. No, fuck.
Yeah.
So he tried to go up there before the leader of the Hospitallers, or however the hell you say that.
Yeah, no idea.
It's such a weird spelling. And he was like, hey, maybe don't do this. And then like a few months later, they were getting put on trial.
Yeah, like out of nowhere. Yeah.
Kind of winning his face.
So, yeah, exactly. And then that led to all of the trials, which happened very quickly, and they very quickly burned Templars at the stake. So kind of similar to witch trials. So
witch shit.
As Jacques de Molay.
And they put him on the wheel, too.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's even worse almost. But as Jacques de Molay is getting burned at the stake, he asked specifically while he was burning, to face Notre Dame so that he could pray while burning. And then his last words were recorded on parchment, so we actually know the exact words he said before he died, which was, quote, God knows who is wrong and has sinned. Soon a calamity will occur to those who have condemned us to death, end quote. I was like, oh shit. That's kind of metal as fuck.
What black metal band has used that as a lyric?
Yeah, right, exactly.
We need to make a black metal band just to use that,
and make the album art a Templar burning at the stake. Yeah.
Hey, editor Nate here. We forgot to include that Pope Clement and King Philip died within a year of Jacques de Molay saying this, so even more metal. So do you want to get into Baphomet and some weird symbology that they had now?
All right, yeah. So, as probably most people know, Baphomet is a satanic goat or a sabbatical goat or just pretty much a bad goat. But that's not the original description of Baphomet. The original descriptions were anywhere from the head of a bearded man to a cat's head to a head with 3 faces, sometimes all 3 or 2 of them. It was kind of wishy-washy, and there weren't really many more descriptions until the 18th century. And then the main image that we all think of with the Baphomet is from Eliphas Levi, who is a 19th century occultist who was a mystical person and was associated with our boy Aleister Crowley, and probably wasn't the best dude, and he drew this Baphomet, which was already very similar to devil depictions in tarot and whatnot. So the kind of imagery was already around. Yeah. And generally speaking, that devil imagery has been associated with goat figures in general, kind of, because of the demonization of gods like Pan, who were seen as like anti-Christian and anti-establishment, pretty much, I guess you could say, because it was generally that god was very, fuck you and your established shit, nature prevails, I'm gonna go around and fuck everything, and they didn't like that, so they kind of demonized Pan, and Pan was like a half goat, half human god as well. So that kind of imagery influenced Eliphas Levi, which created the Baphomet, which is now associated with the term Baphomet, which we can get into what even is Baphomet. And if you'd allow me to go on this tangent real quick,
Baphomet?
I don't know if you read
Sure, I didn't research Baphomet. I just researched Templars.
That's fine.
But I can pull some stuff up.
The word Baphomet and the inclusion of it in Templar trials and whatnot is not really fully understood. We don't know exactly what they meant or what they were alluding to or what the truth might have been, if you can even say that there was something behind the accusations of idol worship. Because there are some people who think Baphomet is related to alchemy, because there was a famous alchemist in or near the Templar headquarters. Some people believe it was tied to the Gnostics, which is what the Freemasons tried to say, which is partly why the Freemasons connect themselves to the Temple of Solomon and shit.
The poor Templemans.
And then, so those are the more wacky ones. But then, if we are to believe that Baphomet was genuinely used by the Templars in any way, there's a couple ideas as to what it was. Some people think it was a bastardization of the word Mahomet, however you pronounce that, which is the old version of Muhammad, which, as you well know, is the prophet of the Islam. So that was Mahomet, which was bastardized into Baphomet. But also Mahomet is very similar to an old English word meaning idol or false god. So there might be a layer of confusion and misinterpretation and even documenting at the time, not even like later, at the time, of possibly
History will do that.
Yeah, of possibly they were using the word Baphomet to mean certain things, but it also could have been, if they genuinely were, who knows if they were worshiping it, who knows if they were just around Islam for so long, being in that area, that they began to incorporate some ideas or even language into what they were, into their rituals.
That's so totally different from what I just thought. Like, they might have been talking about Muhammad in their meetings and whatever, and like in a negative way because they were so Islamophobic.
That also is a possibility.
And then another one of the things that they were accused of was spitting and urinating on religious symbols,
right?
Like crosses and like figures of Jesus or whatever. So maybe they were saying Baphomet and then spitting. Like
Baphomet,
Muslim. They're like Baphomet.
Gross. Yeah. Well,
I like your version better. It makes more sense.
Well, there's another idea about the spitting on the cross. Actually, is that one theory is that if they actually did it, which who knows, they were training themselves to, if they were captured by the Saracens, their enemy, they were training themselves to blaspheme on the cross with their mind and not their heart. So they would spit on the cross without meaning it.
Didn't Jacques de Molay say that? He was the one who was like,
oh, I don't know who exactly said that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was just a later interpretation. That might have been in the confession. I don't know. But yeah, so there's an idea that if they were saying Baphomet, it probably wasn't an idol. It was either they had converted to Islam in some way secretly, or they were incorporating the language or the ideas. One of the confessions said that he would kiss the feet of an idol and then exclaim Yallah, which, as you well know, is very similar with a Y, which is very similar to Allah, which is the name that is the Arabic. Man, I'm super ignorant. I genuinely don't know. That is God in Islam. Yeah, forgive my ignorance. I'm ashamed.
Fucking religion. What is it?
Yeah, right. Fucking
We're out of our depth talk. Why did we choose to talk about religious shit when neither of us are that religious?
I'm literally the opposite of religious.
What is it called? There's like a study of religion you can go into in
theology.
College. Yeah, theology.
Yeah, we're not theologians.
Theologers. Yeah. Theology.
Theologers.
Fuck me, man.
And that is why we call ourselves idiots, guys.
Thanks for listening to Idiots.
And we're done. Bye.
Not know anything about religion. Yeah. No. Okay. Finish your thought, and then I got one thing to finish it.
Okay. Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot left. It's just there were a lot of things within the confessions and of the area that those are possibilities. It also could be merely that King Philip IV was capitalizing on the discrimination against Muslims and was
womp womp
using the ignorance of the populace to claim that they were worshiping another god or an idol from the area, because Christians of the times thought Islam was idolatrous and they didn't really understand that it was also an Abrahamic religion, so they kind of just assumed that they were just crazy people, and we're not very good to them.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. So pretty much.
But the good news is they lost the Crusades. There were 9 of them or something. Yeah, and they lost every one of them.
And they lost Jerusalem, and that was the beginning of the end for the Templars. But pretty much the current depiction is from Eliphas Levi. I don't know how to pronounce his name. What's funny though, what's really funny about this man is he was a kind of socialist. He lived around the same time as Marx, and he was sort of a socialist, but he was a different kind. He was what's called a romantic or a utopian socialist.
Leftist infighting again.
There's always leftist infighting. Can never get away from it. But he believed in something called spiritual magnetism, which was a universal force that was going to synthesize religion and science together into something, which is actually kind of what partially informed the Baphomet image, which, as you know, has one hand pointing up and one hand pointing down.
Alchemy,
with why am I blanking on the words written on its forearms? But anyway, there's words written on its forearms. One of them's coagula, which is like coagulate, come together. The other one's about breaking apart. And so the Baphomet imagery actually isn't really Satan. It's just symbolizing the idea of breaking things apart and bringing them back together in a better form. To use science kind of to kind of make the world a better place. It's actually a pretty positive sentiment in the image, but people connected it to Satan, and then it was kind of demonized into being evil,
Hey, people fear what they don't understand.
They do.
It's a very scary picture too, kind of.
It's a fucking cool picture is what it is.
Menacing.
Love the image of the Baphomet. There's not a ton on the Baphomet. I'm not really sure, aside from Pan, there's not really a ton that it could really be connected to. We've had some weird things about goats in the past. We have Pan, we have the Yule goat, which was seen as a Yule spirit, which would
this is our late
run
Christmas
around
episode.
in Sweden. Yeah, right. Which would run around in Sweden and was an invisible goat man who would run around and scare people and demand presents from them. It's really weird. Northern European mythology is fucking crazy.
It's awesome.
No, it's pretty cool. I do enjoy it. But it's like there's weird connections of like goats to like mischievous likeness and being like weird and wacky and naturey and not really one to be tied down to systems. So that could be part of the reason why we demonize a goat. And yeah, not to be too back and forth on what my topics were, but
yeah, I guess the last thing I kind of wanted to bring up was how I guess this kind of relates to the last episode we did, because apparently this was news to me. I read this in a National Geographic article, but I think at least in some parts of the world, white supremacists are trying to like bring back symbols that the Templars
yes, they
used.
are. Oh yeah.
Because they
even
love
pagans.
their symbols and they hate Islam.
Yes, they're doing that with the Templars. They're doing it with like pagan imagery. They're doing it with like a lot of things that they really have no right, taking.
Yeah.
Because they believe in, the ancient master race. So they kind of just connect it willy-nilly to a bunch of random shit, a bunch of random ancient shit that they like the imagery of. So they like take Templar shit. They take the occultist stuff from the Templar conspiracies. They take pagan shit. They take everything and use that imagery and fucking corrupt it and ruin it. And I hate it because I love that imagery so much and I don't want it to be connected to them, as I said in the one episode.
Yeah. And lastly, this is like more conspiracy brain, but a lot of people believe that the Templars were too powerful and rich and land rich to be dissolved by the year or two of trials that happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that they kind of continued in the shadows to either crop back up in the form of the Illuminati or, how Dan Brown says in his movie book, The Priory of Sion. And then lastly, some people believe that this is akin to Freemasonry because of all of the similar Christian worship deities, I guess.
Right.
Deity one.
Well, there was that one guy who tried to connect the Baphomet imagery, the original one, like the three-headed person and whatnot. He tried to connect it to like Gnostic imagery, which I didn't know this. Apparently, Freemasonry is really influenced by Gnostic Christianity, which, if you don't know, is more of an Eastern form of Christianity that emphasized individuality and individual revelation over established top-down interpretation, and was fucking was fucking like annihilated by the church because they did not like that shit. So they used that imagery apparently. So this Freemason tried to connect Templars to Gnosticism and then to the Freemasons, and then the Freemasons tried to claim that they were the descendants of the Templars, which actually, I don't know if you read into like after the dissolution, but after Pope Clement dissolved the order under order of Philip, King Denis, what a wonderful name, of Portugal, refused to arrest and punish Templars. So
I did hear
the
that,
Templars in Portugal formed the Order of Christ in 1319, not too long later. And Clement convinced Clement to give all of the assets of the old order to them, which he did. And before that, all of the assets were given to the Knights Hospitallers, or however you say it. So like they didn't, a lot of Templars were murdered and killed, but not all of them. A lot of them got away. A lot of them went into other orders. So they did continue. Like that's not a secret. They did continue on through time. They just weren't as powerful.
Shit.
Yeah,
I don't know. This was just an interesting topic to kind of skim the surface of because there's so much mystery involved. Like we still don't really know fact from fiction. We just know that.
I have one thing for you.
Okay.
I don't know if you read this either, but not too long ago, like in the last couple of years or 10 years, the Vatican found old documents that showed Clement found the Templars not guilty of heresy, but guilty of other charges. So, and he still disbanded the order. So, like, they were guilty of like the more like money charges, like laundering or not laundering, but like the other, shit.
Basically,
we do know that they kind of like retracted the accusations of occultism somewhat, at least. So there is that.
Okay. Well, if you want to know more about the Templars, don't come to us.
Because that's all we know.
That's all we know. That's all we did. But yeah, interesting topic. Maybe we'll try to connect it to Freemasonry one day, because I still want to do an episode on that pretty badly. But
if we can figure out how to research it properly.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. But if any of you have a topic that you want us to try to talk to idiots about, being two idiots ourselves, tweet at us at our Twitter at 2idiots_talk.
Yes.
That is 2TO.
Follow us.
And if you like this podcast, just give it a share. Give us a review. We'd really appreciate that, because
we want validation.
Yeah, please give us validation. That's what the internet is for.
Stroke our egos like you love us.
But yeah, that's all we got to say. Thanks for listening to Two Idiots Talk. I'm Nate.
I'm Will.
Bye-bye.
And bye-bye.